offensively. Look at the job Kyrie Irving did tonight. Kevin Durant, again, big numbers. James Harden, to me, still has to get a little bit more involved in terms of shooting the ball. It's not about what they do offensively. Bam Adebayo, once again, huge performance. But this was a Miami team, 81 points last night. Tonight, 124.
And you have to think Kyrie Irving's thinking about this, Frank. It has to be eating at him a little bit that they didn't have a win with him back in the lineup. And you had to sense that in that fourth quarter, he was showing out to get the win tonight.
Yeah, and I think that probably had a lot to do also with that Instagram post that he had today.
Exactly.
And it's not about Instagram posts. It's not about any battle with the media or the fans. It's about the fight on the court. And tonight, Kyrie Irving was outstanding, especially in that fourth quarter. When the Nets need it, you have a big win, you have a big lead against a depleted team. All of a sudden, they get back in the game. Guys can get tight. Kyrie Irving was not tight out there. He wanted the ball. He was making plays, doing it in a lot of different ways, getting to the basket, knocking down threes. When they needed him to be great, like they did a couple of weeks ago against Utah, he was great.
Joe Harris was on his game in the double overtime loss in Cleveland. Then he lost his touch in that second loss last night. And one of the main things that Steve Nash wanted to do was get Joe back into his rhythm. He did that tonight. He had 20 first-half points, and moments ago, he met up with our Michael Grady.
All right, Joe, coming off of those 2 games in Cleveland, finding a way to pull this one out down the stretch. How big was this win for this group?
It's huge. Obviously a couple of tough games, but able to find our rhythm here early, and then at the end of the day, a win is a win, and we'll take it however we can get it.
With Kevin sitting last night, this is just the second game where we've seen Kevin, Kyrie, James with the rest of the group. I know folks want things to be perfect right away, but what is this process like, building continuity, connectivity out there, and trust?
It's tough. Like you mentioned, this is the second time where we've had this entire group together. It's going to take time. We got to be patient. No need to panic here early. It's one of these things where we don't have the luxury of having a lot of practice time, a lot of time together where, we're just kind of throwing it into the fire. And you really got to be patient with this whole thing.
It was big 4 tonight. You had 7 3-pointers in this game, matching a career high, 20 points in the first half. What were you seeing out there that allowed you to be so aggressive and set the tone for the team?
I think just playing off of those guys, they make simple plays where they're, facilitating, getting into the middle. And, I'm just kind of trying to find space and get room and rhythm shots.
Enjoy the win. Thanks so much,
Thanks,
Joe.
Brady.
The big 3 on the floor. Joe Harris, Frank, is going to get a lot of open looks.
Think about this. In the first half of the game, he was 7 for 11 in the first half. The big 3, 6 for 17. He had more field goals than the 3 of them combined. He carried them in the first half when they were still trying to find their game. And I think for Kevin Durant, start off slowly, had missed the last, hadn't played for a couple of days, missed last night's game. I think it took him until the second half to kind of find his rhythm. Joe Harris was absolutely huge in that first half.
He was, and Kevin Durant was big in the second half. He finished 11 for 19. Frank, we're going to get to look at some of his mastery here, starting in the first quarter with a 3.
And again, I thought in the first half, here, going to the basket, being aggressive, but you can tell a little rusty from a couple of days off.
A little bit.
But this is what you do. You make plays on the defensive end as well. He had a couple of huge plays, including that block that we'll see on Bam Adebayo. Here, I love that. Getting to the basket, a little English. This was a huge play because he gets a clean block. They call a foul. Steve Nash challenges the play. Call overturned. Jump ball. To me, they got to change the rules.
And you know what? Steve Nash last night in the postgame challenged his team to be better on defense, and Durant was leading by example.
Yeah, and certainly in the first half they were. Here, if you're going to leave Kevin Durant open like that, Joe Harris finds him. He's going to knock the shot down. Here he is, isolation again on Goran Dragic. He cannot handle Kevin Durant, who's going to hit the little floater right there.
And Durant with the turnaround jumper here. This was during that run, that 8-0 run to answer Miami's 13-zip run, and that actually had Eric Spoelstra call a timeout there. And I love the title of this graphic. Our people, Sam Hickey back there in graphics, tremendous. Stuck on automatic. Season notes, 25 or more in the last 12 games, 20-plus points in all 13 games, and 30-plus in 5 straight home games. That's second at all time to do that, Mike Newland as well. So he was a little rusty to start off this game, but he really picked it up in the second half.
In the pregame, we were talking about where do you think his game is right now, and did we think he's a lot more advanced than we thought he would be? And to me, the answer is absolutely. And I think what we're seeing, everyone knows that Kevin Durant is a great player. But now that he's in a Brooklyn uniform and we're watching him every game, you just see how good he is. Even on nights when you're thinking, all right, it's going to be an average game for him, he still puts up monster numbers. The guy is just an elite scorer. And Kyrie Irving, with the 18, carried them. But Kevin Durant did have 7 in that fourth quarter.
You said monster, and I thought of Monstars from the old Looney Tunes Michael Jordan movie, Space Jam. And that's exactly what this big three is.
Early on in this game, you can tell a lot of communication on defense, challenging shots, gang rebounding. All that stuff is great. The problem is, though, you have to do it for the majority of a 48-minute game. And in the fourth quarter of this game, the Miami Heat scored 42 points. So Steve Nash is going to talk about slippage. That was the issue. Early on, absolutely, especially in that first half. The intensity was high, but still too many points for the Miami Heat, who were down by 18 in this game and had a couple of chances in this fourth quarter to take the lead. There's a good play here by Joe Harris late in the third quarter. So they had their moments, but again, this team scored 81 points last night, 124 tonight, including 42 in the fourth quarter. That's not going to be good enough.
You saw flashes. James Harden talked about the help side defense and communication, and you just pointed out Joe Harris coming back on help side defense, getting that block. So hopefully Steve Nash will get to see this multiply from game to game with his team getting better communication, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They do hold on tonight, 128-124 over the Heat. Career high 41 for Bam Adebayo, and Kevin Durant led the way for the Nets with 31 moments ago. Steve Nash met the media, and our Michael Grady was asking the first question.
What did you see specifically down the stretch as the Heat tried to fight back that you liked in terms of your team holding on and pulling out this win?
Yeah, I think it was one of those games where we could have found a bunch of ways to lose it. We hanging on to our lead. Second unit struggled a little bit. We lost that margin, and that's a tough position when you put your starters back in late in the game when the momentum swung the other way. So I was happy with the character and resolve we showed to make some shots, to play against a different look. That zone, it's not something you face every day. So, trying to figure it out and stay calm, stay poised, play in principles more so than sets. And they most importantly, showed the resolve after a tough week to get the win.
Michael Grady from Yes Network.
Coach, you talked a lot about the 50-50 balls, the hustle, those little intangibles and winning plays. How would you assess the effort you got from you guys tonight?
I thought it was a great response from the guys. We, especially to start the game, came out, made the extra effort, multiple efforts, played collectively, offensively too, put that energy into the offense. Sometimes we have a tendency to stand and watch each other or to get stagnant, but we moved it. We made quick decisions at that end, and defensively, just the will was there. The will was there to make them feel us. So that was a big improvement from Cleveland, and proud of the way they came out and set the tone, and then found a way to win in the end.
Not a lot of, shot attempts from James. You've talked about, him and facilitating for others. How important is that, especially with him seeing time with the second unit, to help give those guys some confidence?
Well, it's invaluable, his, playmaking skills for us. So often he found guys for layups or wide open threes and created and distorted the defense. So, he wasn't himself shooting the ball. I think he's still trying to get himself into shape. That was a tough little week for him, 3 games in 4 nights, so including a double overtime. So I think, hats off to him that he found a way to contribute when his shot wasn't going and his legs weren't there. He still made a lot of plays for his team.
Greg Logan with Newsday.
Hey, Greg, good to hear from
Steve,
you.
how are you?
Yes. I was worried about you up there.
I know. I just wanted to ask a 2-part thing. You're up 16 at the end of the third quarter. Does this team sometimes have a tend to relax when you get that kind of cushion? And then how hard is it to get started again the way you did in the fourth period?
Yeah, I don't know if it's relaxing, but that second unit is just growing, trying to learn and figure it out and play together. And, they just struggle a little bit, and that's going to happen sometimes. So, they're capable. We got to develop them. The alternative is to play our starters 40-plus minutes. So fortunately, we had a little bit of a cushion, and although we lost the momentum and the lead thereabouts, we still were able to win the game and keep the minutes in a relatively acceptable zone. So, that's part of our development. That's part of taking the long road here and not necessarily trying every night to wear our guys out and not develop the second unit.
Malika Andrews with ESPN.
Mute, Malika. You're on mute. I don't know if it's Greg Logan.
We'll try Alex Schiffer with The Athletic.
Is rubbing off on you? What's the deal, guys? Come on.
Hey, Steve, I got two for you. Just even with all these stars, how big of a difference maker is it when you get a guy like Joe going early? And then just my second one is, even though you talked about James, it's only been a week, I guess, where do you think he's made the most strides in such a short time with only games and only one practice, given everything?
Yeah, well, Joe was outstanding shooting the ball for us. Also, his energy and hustle defensively and his ability to stick to the game plan, I think, helps us a lot. James is, he's a terrific playmaker. He hasn't got his scoring going yet. I think he's still trying to get himself into shape, but the playmaking is important. I think also his familiarity with the switching defense, is important. So we know where James will get. It's just a matter of getting him there in a safe way.
Brian Lewis with the New York Post.
Hey, Steve. I'm curious. Obviously, this is going to be a weird season where rosters and teams aren't going to look like their normal selves every day. But was that the shot profile defensively that you wanted? I mean, were you getting them, forcing them to take the kind of shots that you wanted? Or was that team so decimated that it's kind of hard to judge that when they're missing those threes?
Well, I mean, you can only play the game in front of you. So I thought tonight, Bam was exceptional in the mid-range, but we made him take tough shots. He got a lot of good rolls tonight. He's a terrific player, but overall, it took a really hot night from him in the mid-range to get them back in the game. So that's positive. That's we're not giving up a bunch of threes to them, especially for the first three quarters. That's really positive because when they do miss guys, they can get hot from three, and that's one way they can beat you.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Missing some key components, but I think the important thing to remember is there is a level of continuity and consistency with some of these players, and also Eric Spoelstra and the way he pushed the buttons down the stretch, and the opportunity for the Nets to approach how they were playing against the zone defense, the man-to-man, the switching, the different looks, the coverages. Again, this is all a part of the learning process and how you grow, and I think it's going to be really fun for all of us and interesting to see what both these teams come back with 2 days later from now, the adjustments that are made, and for the Nets, can they try and build on the showing and the effort level that they had here tonight?
Nets able to make enough plays, hit enough free throws down the stretch to snap the two-game skid and get the victories. To send back to you in the studio, Chris.
Ryan, Sarah, thank you very much. And one of the guys who made those key plays down the stretch, besides Kyrie Irving, was Kevin Durant, who returned to action tonight after resting last night in Cleveland. And Frank, he passed the Chief, Robert Parrish, for 27th all-time most points in NBA history. And moments ago, Frank, he met up with our...
You had a lot of talk about, the defense and the improvements that you guys have talked about that you wanted to make. How would you assess the defensive performance overall in this?
I think we played with a sense of urgency. I mean, we made sure our technique was right and our schemes. I think we did a good job of forcing those guys off the three-point line, and they threw it to Bam, who's an all-star in the post, and he did his thing. Jeff and DJ made him shoot tough shots all night, and you got to live with those. And he's such a great player that he's gonna keep him in the game with his passing, his rebounding, and shot making. So I think overall we did a solid job. Duncan Robinson didn't get his loose. Maybe he got a few late, but he didn't get his loose. So I think we followed the game plan.
This feel-out process, like with obviously yourself, Kyrie, James, other guys all getting involved. Just this second game where you guys have all been together. From your perspective, what is this feel-out process like as you build trust?
Trust is already there, I think. I think just the familiarity with each other is there already. We play with each other and know each other's games for the last decade. It's just a matter of, what plays we're going to run at certain times, what lineups we're going to have out there. I think, both the coaches and the players are fine-tuning everything. And we're going to have spurts where, we play inconsistent. And it's just because, we're trying things. But for the most part, our minds and hearts are in the right place when we're out there. And we're trying to take care of business every possession.
Bruce Beck with NBC New York.
Kevin, before the game, Steve said that he wanted to see 5 men show intelligence and passion. Do you think you saw that tonight?
For sure. You know, being intelligent out there is half the battle, you know, and I feel like a lot of guys, most of the guys on this team, well, everybody on this team knows how to play the right way, knows different schemes, have played in different philosophies on both ends of the floor. And it's about executing. I think tonight we did a good job. I mean, we were up 20 points. We were up 16-14 going into the fourth quarter, and you know, so we were in good shape. But we got to put together 4 quarters of great basketball.
Brian Lewis with the New York Post.
Hey, Kevin, following up on you talked about coaches trying things and fine-tuning. After the last game, the sentiment was, hey, we don't need to tinker that much with scheme. It's more just guys have to individually defend better. After this game, I'm curious, were there changes in terms of scheme, or was this just you guys play better on defensively individually?
Yeah, I mean, definitely your defense looks better when teams miss shots, you know, and you got to give credit to the Cleveland team who knocked down shots on us, and then in the fourth quarter tonight they made shots, sometimes over a hand, you know, so you got to live with some of those things, and, you know, it says the NBA, guys are pros, you know, so we put ourselves in position to get stops, you know, by contesting Bam in the mid-range, taking Duncan Robinson off the 3, Kelly Olynyk off the 3, you know, so we went through the stuff that we were supposed to go through in film, and we went out there and executed. You know, so for the most part, we did what we were supposed to do.
Greg Logan with Newsday.
Kevin, this was only the second full game for you guys together, you know, you, Kyrie, and James. Even though James didn't get his usual amount of shots, do you find it almost shocking that you guys can play this well together so quickly, you know, to the point where you guys combined to score every point in the fourth quarter?
No, it's not a surprise to me. I mean, we're veterans in this league. We've been through every situation so far, so we know how to handle that. And but for the most part, it's getting our teammates involved early on. Joe got going, Jeff got going. You know, I think that's what we try to do to start the games. And if we're in a fourth quarter game, we got to go out there and be special and be who we are and make plays. And you know, but our whole team put us in position to go out there and execute in the fourth.
Malika Andrews with ESPN.
Kevin, scoring 20 points in all 13 games you've played in this season is the longest streak you've had like that in your career. Is there something about the looks you're getting, your teammates, that's lending itself to that sort of production?
As each game goes on, I mean, coach is putting in different sets. He's, you know, everybody plays with the pass here, and, you know, so guys are going to get looks all game, especially if you play a lot of minutes. And it's on me to finish those shots. And I feel like I left a few shots on the table tonight that I wanted to make, but for the most part, I think I'm you know, I'm trying to be smart and efficient with my movements out there, and I think I could definitely get better, but I'm moving in the right direction.
Christian Winfield with the New York Daily News.
Hey, Kevin, I want to ask you about 2 moments in this game. The first happened in the second quarter, excuse me. I think TLC has the ball in the corner with Bam on him. You're clapping for the ball. And he takes Bam to the hoop, hits Joe Harris in the corner with the skip pass, and you kind of give him a high five on the way back. What does it tell you when you can call for the ball and you can still trust a guy like TLC or anybody else in the roster to make a play without needing you to kind of make it for him?
Yeah, I mean, when I see a guy in the corner maybe trapped and you know, somebody's forcing the base and using that sideline as a defender, I tried to give him an outlet, but TLC made a great play, driving base and kicking to our shooter in the corner. But I was just letting him know that I was there as an outlet for him if he needed it.
Last question, Tom Dowd with BrooklynNets.com.
Hey, Kevin, Kyrie had 18 in the fourth tonight. I think he had 12 out of 16 for you guys at one point. What did you see from him during that stretch when he kind of held off Miami?
I mean, you've seen how special and talented and hard-working Kyrie is. I mean, he works on all of those shots every day, and he comes in with that mentality that, you know, especially late in the games, you're going to have to knock those down for us. So he's an all-world player. He's a great teammate. But when the ball's in his hands late in the game, our team is just so unpredictable because he can make the pass, he can score in the mid-range, score from the three-point area, get to the basket, and you got weapons around him. It makes it tough to guard. So we're going to need that from him going forward. And, you know, he was phenomenal in that fourth.
We heard Christian Winfield ask that question about the second quarter play with TLC, and through the magic of television, here it is, Frank.
Our guy Josh doing a little work. But here he is. He's looking to bail out TLC. He knows he's in trouble, but how about the pass from TLC to Joe Harris? That's just Kevin Durant saying, I'm Kevin Durant. If you need me, I'm here. I can bail you out. So
I'm right
9
here.
times out of 10, I'd pass the ball to Kevin Durant. That time, TLC made a good play.
He did. And maybe by clapping, he alerted TLC, hey, make a play, make something happen.
Yeah.
You have the baseline, use it.
Yeah, but I also think Kevin Durant right there, he kind of